So maybe you felt it standing on the rim of the Grand Canyon, or seeing a tornado funnel just a few miles away from where you're standing. Maybe it happened when you glanced up at the sky and marveled at the yellow-orange supermoon hanging just above the trees. Or maybe when you feel it when the music of the last 5 minutes of Mahler's Resurrection Symphony, with 2 sets of timpanis, 3 full-size gongs, 2 dozen brass, and 1,000 voices just washes over you. You felt that emotion called awe. Psychologists tell us that this emotion plays an important role in strengthening our happiness and our health, and played a role in our social evolution in how and why humans get along and cooperate with one another. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about the power of beauty to influence many aspects of our lives. So today, we're going to reflect on beauty's big sibling, the emotion of awe. That emotion that comes out sometimes with that involuntary verbal exclamation of, wow, or sometimes, OMG. People commonly experience awe in the grandness of nature, seeing a vista of the Sierra Mountains, or looking at a grove of 1,000-year-old giant sequoia trees, or watching huge waves crash against the shore, or a lightning storm in the Midwest where the whole sky lights up from horizon to horizon, one flash after another. I love Midwest lightning storms. But people also experience awe in the tiny, the intricacies of the marigold flower petals folding onto each other, or seeing microbes swim in, well, whatever microbes swim in. And there's awesomeness in our everyday lives too. In fact, the fact that water travels through miles and miles and miles of pipes and comes out of our faucet. Or that the phone that we carry, this little thing, has over 100,000 times more processing power than the computers that landed humans on the moon 50 years ago. And maybe the most awesome thing of all is that we exist, because there are such great odds. There were such great odds against us existing at all. Awe is the emotion we feel in response to having a sense of wonder in the presence of something that moves us past our everyday understanding or our everyday experience of the world. It is an exhilarating mixture of admiration and delight and surprise and sometimes even fear. When we are held in awe by something, we are temporarily actually thrown off kilter in terms of our relationship or understanding our relationship to the world. You know, people mostly just walk around with a sense of knowing what is going on in the world and their place in the world. And generally, people put themselves, or at least humans, in the picture as the proverbial top dog. But when we are in a state of awe, we are put off balance, and as a consequence, we can have different perspectives open to us about how we live in our relationship to the universe. Experiencing a time of awe can open people's imagination. It can cause people to have paradigm-shifting ideas or discoveries, such as with Darwin or John Muir or Einstein, who each had awe-filled moments in their lives that led them to see the world, and in the case of Einstein, the universe, in a revolutionary way. And this kind of thing happens to everyone, to us everyday people. A study a while ago at Berkeley found that people simply watching short videos of expansive images of the Earth came up with more imaginative examples when asked to name items from a certain category, even something as mundane as furniture, as compared to people in a control group that just looked at boring pictures. Another thing that happens after experiencing an awe event is that we often get a sense of our smallness in the scheme of things. We are not the top dog. Now, therapists and life coaches work to change the attitude of people who report feeling small or insignificant when that feeling comes from shame or depression. And they should be doing that because that kind of smallness or sense of smallness is isolating and debilitating. But the sense of smallness that comes from an awe-inspiring experience is different. This smallness comes from a person shifting their attention from the self to the larger thing that caused awe. It is a recognition that we are part of something grander than just ourselves. This awe-motivating experience of being small in comparison to the larger universe makes us feel humble, which leads to several surprising other emotions or responses. People who have experienced an awe-inspiring event more often offer to help other people because the natural selfish tendencies of entitlement and arrogance and narcissism are diminished by a sense of awness or humility. There have been a number of experiments that have shown this effect of awe. In one, researchers took a group of students to look at a grove of tall, magnificent blue gum trees, and took another group to look at a very large but rather plain office building. The students looked at each site for 60 seconds, and then the group came together supposedly to take an observation quiz. Well, while they were coming together and standing there, the professor's teaching assistant staged accidentally stumbling and dropping all of the pencils all over the ground. And interestingly, the students that had seen the trees tended to bend down to help this fumbling teaching assistant gather up the pencils, while the students that had just looked at this big but plain building did, for the most part, not bend down to help. In other experiments, participants who had been given a wilderness awe experience and those who did not were asked to draw diagrams of how they related to each other or to the world. The people who had the awe experience drew overlapping circles to describe how they related to other people in the group, while the people who did not have the awe experience tended to draw just circles of themselves and other people as individual circles. When asked about this, those who experienced awe answered that they felt more connected with everyone in the human race. William James described awe as an immense freedom and elation that allows the outline of the confines of selfhood to melt down. Awe gives rise to a decreasing feeling for just the self and triggers an increasing orientation to others and to the world around us. But I think, at least for me, the most interesting effect of awe of some kind is that time seems to stop and the mind seems to go someplace else. I describe it as touching transcendence. Now, for thousands, if not tens of thousands of years, humans have gone into the wilderness or deep into caves on quest to experience transcendence and maybe even feel that they have heard the voice of the Almighty. We can easily imagine that they, just like us, found wide open vistas or mountains or forests with huge trees or the night filled with stars or cave caverns filled with stalactites and stalagmites. Awesome. And we moved into a mental state of where they felt connection with something greater than them and perceived, perhaps, that they had been touched by their god or gods. Anthropologists and social psychologists speculate that our modern emotion of awe originated from these feelings of primordial awe that were passed down through rites of passage or shamanic rituals. Our ancestors sought transformation through these awe-inspiring activities. And that is what awe-inspiring events do to us today. They let us tune into a state of being transformed in some way, being transformed and stepping into sort of the flow of time and space, or as some people put it, being in the zone. These experiences by people throughout the generations of the sense of timelessness in moments of awe are the feelings of the transcendence that we have today. It is what gave rise to religion. As Albert Einstein said, to know that what is impenetrable to us really exists, manifesting itself in the highest wisdom and the most radiant beauty which our dull faculties can comprehend only in their most primitive form, this knowledge, this feeling is at the center of true religiousness. In our regular Sunday services, we but barely touch this essence of true religion. But our Sunday services and our time here in church is a doorway pointing us to that which is greater than just us now, or just our time now, or just ourselves. We are pointed to transcendence if we allow ourselves to be in the moment, to be in the flow, to allow our minds to flow with the music and the silence and the emotions that come out of being together. Awe, like beauty, affects us in many ways, emotionally and physically. It makes our life better. It improves our health. And we need to be sure then to savor moments of awe when they happen, knowing that we are touching transcendence. For as the poet William Yeats once said, the world is full of magic things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper. So be it.